A terrifying global economic collapse is coming, all because of a massive population implosion. Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Mark Smart Money channel. Today we're discussing an existential threat to humanity that receives almost no media coverage. We're talking about the imminent demographic collapse, which has the potential to bankrupt numerous countries throughout the world. Indeed, many people have been concerned about overcrowding and food shortages throughout the last century. Indeed, developments in agricultural technology have made food more affordable and plentiful than at any other point in human history. Hunger has decreased to all-time lows in the last 2 decades, even in the least developed countries, such as sub-Saharan Africa. Instead of being plagued by overpopulation, many affluent countries are grappling with underpopulation. Japan, for example, has experienced population reductions every year since 2010, despite rising life expectancy. As a result, the population is quickly aging, with the median age topping 48 years in 2021. The average age in the United States and Europe is 38 and 43 years, respectively, yet both regions are quickly aging and will eventually succumb to the same fate. As a country matures, an aging population poses an existential threat to its economy. People who are retired are becoming a larger and larger percentage of the population. By definition, retirees do not generate any output. They either use their savings or their Social Security income to fund their expenditures. Young people who are still working 9-to-5 jobs provide the output that retirees consume. As a result, the percentage of the population engaged in productive work will decrease, resulting in lower output per capita and lower living standards. This will take decades to play out, but the disastrous repercussions of population collapse are already being seen in several countries as their populations age. Since its high in 1995, Japan's GDP per capita has fallen by over 10%. Despite substantial technological advancements at this time, this is the case. Almost all industrialized countries, including Japan, will suffer deteriorating living standards in the future decades if current trends continue. Politicians in Western countries are mainly disregarding the prospect of population collapse because it is still more than a decade away. Failure to recognize the issue will not make it go away. Elon Musk appears to be the only notable individual who has addressed the gravity of the problem. What exactly do you mean when you say that? When you look at countries like Japan, much of Europe, and China, you'll notice that their birth rates are only half of what they should be when you have an inverted demographic pyramid. So if you're interested, take a peek at the department. You'll find 60-year-olds and 50-year-olds. You're 40 years old and 20 years old, respectively. Isn't that kind of like a demographic pyramid? And because it's an upside-down pyramid in some nations, it'll tumble over. What we have in those countries will not be tolerated. The social safety net will not hold due to a high dependency ratio in which the number of individuals who are retired is far greater than the number of persons who are net producers. We didn't evolve for this because we evolved to always reproduce, and there was no birth control or anything like that. What about children? It's like pop, of course, and hopefully some of them were 5, which was like all of you in history, until very recently, when adult diapers outsold baby diapers in places like Japan. Similarly, Europe is in a precarious position. China is moving in the same path because, as you may know, they had the one-child policy, and even though it was lifted, the social norm had developed to have an average of 1 child, so it didn't shift in the manner you might assume when it was lifted. People frequently inquire, what about immigration, for example? It's like, okay, look, China has a population of 1.5 billion people. Will China's population increase by 700 million people? That's around 3 Indonesians. It appears that it does not work, and if the full intensity of this issue becomes a serious sphere issue in the next decades, clearly, the source of the population implosion is that individuals are not having enough children to maintain a particular population level. Each couple must have a minimum of 2 children. The fertility rate is the term for this. The fertility rate in each country is depicted on this map. Purple countries have a population implosion due to low fertility rates of less than 2 children per woman. As can be seen, the United States is in the midst of a demographic decline. Almost all of Europe, Russia, China, Australia, and New Zealand have fertility rates of less than 2 children per woman. The only countries with high fertility rates are those in the developing world, such as Africa. South Korea is currently the most severe country, with a fertility rate of 1 or half the sustainable rate. South Korea's population will be slashed in half in just 1 generation if current trends continue. A population decline as drastic as this has never been seen before in world history. The closest parallel is the Black Plague of the 1300s, which killed off up to a third of the countries most severely affected. It is uncharted ground for a country's population to be slashed in half. The ramifications for the economy and society will be unprecedented. Rich countries' parents have larger money and hence a stronger ability to raise children, so the fact that rich countries have lower fertility rates appears contradictory. This is due to a number of factors. First, women in industrialized countries have more equality and job prospects than men, which is why many of them choose not to have children in order to concentrate on their jobs. In addition, children in wealthy countries have more educational options. Parents want to send their children to college, so they only have 1 or 2 children, in order to save enough money to cover tuition costs. In poor countries, on the other hand, having as many children as possible is ideal, partly so that they can help out on the family farm. For whatever reason, as countries become wealthier, people choose to have fewer children. With few exceptions, this is occurring throughout the developed world. When it comes to the aging population, Japan is the most advanced country. It's crucial to look at Japan as an example since, during the next several decades, most industrialized countries will be in a similar scenario to Japan. Japan's economy thrived in the post-World War II era. They quickly accepted new technologies and benefited from the globalization of the automobile and electronics markets. However, they were hit by a catastrophic stock and real estate catastrophe in 1991, which threw the economy into a tailspin. When countries go through recessions, they usually recover within a few years and resume their normal growth rates. This, however, did not occur in Japan. They have been under economic stagnation for more than 25 years, with the ordinary Japanese citizen in 2021 being worse off than they were in 1995. The aging population can account for a considerable portion of this. As the number of retirees grows, a higher portion of the country's resources will be allocated to retirement benefits. This means there is less money available for physical capital or innovation. The economy stagnates due to a lack of investment, so what can governments do to halt the population decline? Unfortunately, there isn't a simple solution to the issue. Tax breaks and other incentives can be used to encourage families to have more children, but this is easier said than done. The U.S. Department of Agriculture estimates that raising a child in the United States from birth to 18 years costs $233,000. Most governments can only afford to provide tax credits of a few $1,000s, which are small in comparison to the considerable cost of having a child. Allowing widespread immigration of young people from poorer nations is another way developed countries can try to solve the problem. As a result, most developed countries do not admit nearly as much immigration as is necessary to tackle the population problem. Furthermore, there are not enough migrant workers in the world to bridge the population gap in countries like China. If there were, countries like Japan would have fixed it by now. The reasons for fertility drop in developed countries are complex, and they are projected to worsen over the next few decades. The population bomb's economic ramifications could have a negative impact on stock markets. For example, Japan's Nikkei stock index has been stagnant for 30 years, falling 25% from its peak in 1989 to now. Every country's median population is tracked by the CIA, and we've given a link in the description below. When deciding on nation allocations for globally diversified stock portfolios, investors may want to include age data. All countries with low median ages have a lower danger of population collapse and, all other things being equal, have a higher potential for economic growth. That's all there is to it for this video, guys. What are your thoughts on the population collapse? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos in the future. Thank you so much for watching, as always, and we'll see you in the next one. Signing off, Mark Smart Money.